Hey folks, welcome to another episode of 1% Better, and delighted to be recording this on what night of the week is it? A Tuesday night, with a guest who's from Ireland but living on the east coast of the US at the moment. So it's kind of an Irish US link, all good. Looking forward to chatting with my guest tonight, Amy Shine. Welcome to the podcast, Amy.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to learning about a few different things that I'm interested in. Don't know a whole lot about specifically in your world, but great to have you onto the podcast. So Amy, talk to me a bit about, I guess, diving straight into it, access consciousness. Something that I'm obviously aware of consciousness, but what is access consciousness?
um, so access consciousness is like a set of tools, I guess, and processes that are kind of like pragmatic that you can use every day in your life to come out of really, I mean, really just to get you out of judgment of yourself, first of all. So there's like there's body work that we do called access bars, but then there's also like questions that you use every day, and it's just like, I suppose, how do you sum it all up in a few sentences? It's just like, it's a way of tools and information you can use to actually get you out of the judgment you have of yourself. Because like, if you want to, if you want to create anything in your life, if you want to have more ease with money, if you want to have greater relationships, if you want to have, more joy with your body, you have to first stop judging it. Like, you have to come out of judgment, because nothing can change when you're judging. If you're judging you, or you're judging your finances, or you're judging, your partner, your wife, your husband, whatever, you're judging your body, you can't actually change it. Like, judgment kills everything. It kills creation, it kills your body. And we hear a lot now, like there's a lot of talk, people are coming kind of more open now to, like, your thoughts create what shows up in your life. Like, your point of view creates your reality. So like, if you look in the mirror every day and you say, oh my God, I'm so fat, like, that's what you'll create with your body. So it starts really with your thoughts for everything. So access, I suppose, is a way of just having tools that are easy and that work very quickly to get you out of, first off, the judgment of yourself. And then when you get out of the judgment of yourself, you can actually start to create your life, and create what you want to have.
Cool.
So do you ever, yeah.
What?
Do you ever feel like, like something just keeps happening, like the same thing keeps happening over and over, like it's just repetitive?
I think just before we started, the Zoom didn't work, and that's happened over and over. So maybe I need to think differently about Zoom and move to Skype more regularly. So.
Do you have judgments of Zoom, Rob?
Judging it right now at the moment, but Skype is working.
Well, so in that case, like, what with the tools of access, what we start to do is ask questions. Like, so like, a question opens up your reality and opens up your universe, right? And a conclusion kills it. So it's like coming out of, like, the mind, basically, because like, your mind is like a calculating system. Like, it just wants to limit you. It wants to tell you, like, this isn't possible, right? So like, say when you went to set up your podcast from the first day, like, did you have like limitations come up?
Oh, absolutely, and I still have them all the time, constantly. I think why I completely get where you're coming from limiting beliefs is just through coaching, and do a lot of one-to-one coaching, team development, and I see it all the time. People are predominantly, I would say, negative, and have more negative thoughts than positive ones, and just put a boundary or a barrier on what they can achieve. So I absolutely hear that, but I think the lack of awareness is amazing, that people don't realize that they're limiting themselves based on their belief system, right? So.
Yeah, and it's like, we don't also have tools to change it. Like, even if you do know, or you're judging yourself, like, how do you stop that? How do you change it? And so a lot of us are missing the tools, like the information, like, how do you actually change that? And so one of the things Access has given me is questions, like asking questions. So, if instead of, saying, okay, like, I don't know if I can do this podcast. I don't know who's going to listen to me. Do I, am I really good enough to do it? All these limiting beliefs that may come up whenever you go to choose something in your life that may be greater or beyond your comfort zone, right? Then you would turn it around and just be like, okay, well, so what would it take for me to be able to do this with ease? Or, what's right about me that I'm not getting? Or, what contribution could I be to the world? Because we seem to think that we're like all these, like, we don't seem to get like that we all have these unique talents and abilities and capacities. And the world requires us, you know what I mean? The world requires to hear your podcast. But if you were to buy into the limiting beliefs like, oh, I'm not good enough or whatever it is that comes up and not start your podcast, the world would be missing your voice, And it's like, and how many of us do that in so many areas of our life? We keep playing small and we keep ourselves hidden rather than actually getting the gift that we are, getting the greatness that we are, getting that we all actually have contributions to make to people, to the people around us, to the planet.
How did you find Access Consciousness? And I know from doing a bit of research on you and checking out your stuff on Facebook and, learning a little bit more about you, it sounds like it happened maybe in your 20s or towards the end of it. But it's interesting what led you to it, do you think?
Oh, God. That's a long story.
We have time.
But to sum it up. Well, first off, I was a seeker. And is
that a term in Access Consciousness that you're kind of
I think no. I think I probably heard it when I got to Access, but I definitely knew, oh wow, yeah, like a seeker. Like, wait, what's a seeker? Like I was always looking for something else. You know what I mean? Like do you not have, you know those people who always go to different workshops and try different things and always trying new things? Like I was always seeking something else, like something different, like that there has to be something else here in the world. Like this can't be just it. Like that there was just something really missing in this world for me, and I suppose what brought me to Access was that I went through a lot very early on in life. Like I had a breakdown when I was 21, and that's when my seeking started. Like that's when I started like going to yoga, trying meditation, like trying everything. I tried, going to shaman healers. I tried all different stuff. And I did like spiritual programs, just really looking for anything at all, Rob, that could give me ease, that would give me peace in my head. Because I had really, really, really like racing thoughts, like insomnia and not being able to sleep. And I had a lot of ups and downs and highs and lows, and always felt like there was something wrong with me. Like always like there's something wrong with me, And at the time, well, there was, there's lots of different parts on my journey. And, like I went through a lot of pain in my early 20s, a lot of like trying to fix myself, trying to different things to try and fix myself. And then I actually found a thing called Five Rhythms Dance. And it's kind of like dancing, but without the structure of it, like, and it's like moving from your head down into your body and just doing a lot of free movement. And it's like dancing, but like not in like, it like takes the ego out of it. It's not about what you look like. It's not about how you move. It's more about just getting into your body and dancing and letting go of the mind. So that kind of gave me a lot of like release and gave me a lot of space and a lot of joy. But there still was something else. Like there was still a lot of like days where I just was upset and crying for no reason and not knowing what's wrong with me. And even though I was doing all the right things, right, by the book, doing all the healthy things that you're told you should do to keep a healthy mind and body, I just still like felt like there was really something missing. And I judged myself a lot. And a friend of mine who I knew at the time, I actually went to Miami for the summer, and I came back and I noticed a big difference in her. I was like, what's she doing? What has she been doing? I was kind of like, I noticed that she had a lot more ease. She had a lot more space. Like she was a lot more peaceful in herself. And I was like, so I started asking her questions like, what are you doing? And she had found this thing called access bars. And access bars is like it's a 1 day class you can take, and it's basically where it's like consciousness for your body. So you know the way like you read all these books and you educate yourself and you talk about consciousness. This is more like consciousness for your body. It's like pouring consciousness into your body. It's hands-on, all these different points on your head, and it's like a light touch system. Um, and when someone runs your bars, it's like another form of meditation. Like it gets you to that place where you actually start to shut the mind off and you kind of let go of control, and your body actually starts to receive peace and ease and space. And that's what she had been doing. And that's what I noticed. Like I didn't know what she was doing. I just knew she had this peace in her and this ease. And that's what I was looking for. I was like, I just want to have peace in my head. Um, and
Did she
so
find that in Ireland? Just
yeah, she did. Yeah, she went to like a mind body festival up in Dublin, and there was like a, one of the at the expedition or whatever, there was somebody there demonstrating it, and she tried it out, and then this other lady was there, and she was offering the class, and she just jumped right in there and took it. Yeah.
very good. So that kind of got you on that journey. I was again doing a bit of reading around the access bars, and you said there's
Yeah.
32 unique points on your head, and like so maybe just even through a session, is it like a 1 hour thing? Would you notice a difference straight away? Is there a cumulative effect of getting it done? Maybe talk a bit about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, so there are 32 points in your head, and they're all connected to your different like thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. So like there's a bar for money, there's a bar for control, creativity, all these different things like body, healing. And so basically when if there's a couple of ways you can do it. You could like just look up a facilitator and go book yourself a session. So um I actually went to Rachel's daughter. Rachel O'Brien was my friend, and she was the one teaching it. I went to her daughter to run my bars first. I was in college. I didn't have that much money. I didn't want to pay like full price for a session. So her 14-year-old daughter was also doing it, and she was like charging a lot less. So I was like, let me go and get my bars run and try it out with Aoife. And Aoife ran my bars, and I didn't have a clue what it was, Rob. I literally lied on the table. I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I'll give it a go in a way. And I like again because I'm so in my head, right? Can anyone else identify like how much time you spend in your head thinking? For the first half of the session, I was just thinking, 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 thinking. And then halfway through the session, she moved points, and I now know the point she was on, which was kindness, gratitude, peace, and calm. And everything just kind of like dropped and softened in my world, and my head just kind of like mellowed out. And I actually, for the first time, actually just relaxed. And this kind of like ease or kind of, and I know now what it is. At the time I didn't know. And this ease kind of came over me. And the rest of the session was more like me being actually like relaxed without my mind talking to me, that constant natter, the monkey mind. And so I came away from the session, and I didn't really like, I didn't feel anything as such, I just was like, I know now when I look back, I was definitely more relaxed, and I think afterwards I sat down with a friend and I watched TV, and I think it was the first time where I actually could watch a TV program where I actually was able to just concentrate and not be like in my head. So that was my first session, and I didn't go back for another one like straight afterwards. But because I was friends with Rachel, I was hearing a lot of the other information, like the questions and stuff. So she was kind of like feeding me a lot of the tools without me realizing. And it was actually like changing my world. And so I think it was like a couple of months later, I decided to go and get a session from her. And that session was like, oh my God, like it just changed a lot for me. And and then later on, like a month later, I took the class with her, the bars class. And that's so, to get back to your original question, everyone's different. Someone could come from one session and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like like, have so much change. And then someone could come from a session and be like, I don't really feel anything. Right. Um, and then they might come back for more. And then later on, they might get a lot more ease. Like it depends. It took me a good while of getting my bars run before I was able to actually let go, and actually for my mind to shut off. You know, like if you're someone who tends to have a lot of racing thoughts, sometimes it takes a while for your mind to like drop down. You know, do you ever go to like a meditate? Do you ever try to meditate?
Yeah, I meditate pretty much every day, and to that point, I think what I try to explain to sometimes to people is when you're doing it for the first while, you might start thinking, God, I'm getting worse at this. But the actual truth is that because you're becoming more aware of your thoughts, it's just you notice them more apparent, as opposed to before you're just probably not even aware of all the mad stuff going on and being autopilot. So yeah, no, I totally can understand the kind of change process that's probably going
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, and it's different for every single person. That's why it's really hard to say, oh, do you need one session? Do you take the class? Because when you take the bars class, then you can actually run bars on other people. And that's really cool because then you can take it home with you. And like for me now, like I'll run my husband's bars. And it will change the energy between the two of us. Like if I ever feel like I want to kill him, do you know? Do you ever feel like, you just want to fight? Like you have that energy coming up in your world, like you're picking a fight for no reason.
Yep.
You might not know that, Rob. You probably don't do that.
No, I'm totally not like that at all.
But so what I would do is I'd run his bars, and then it just it changes the energy between the two of us. It brings us closer. It just creates that, like it takes away all the struggle of the world, right? Like how much struggle is there in this world like that we live in? Like a lot, right? People struggling with money, with relationships, with their body. Like everything we're kind of fed is like, like work hard, work hard, work hard. And it's like, where's the peace? Like, where's the space? Where's the ease? So the bars for me was like, getting my bars run was the first place where I actually allowed my body to receive, where I actually could start to receive. And by receive, I mean receive like that space and that ease. And like, do you ever go out in nature, right? And go out into the forestry or go out on the beach, and there's just this space there, like, and it's just like, oh my God, this is so beautiful, right? Because nature doesn't judge, like the ocean doesn't judge you, the trees don't judge you. So it creates this space. And so the bars, getting your bars run, it creates that same space that you get when you're out in nature, like getting rid of the judgments you have of yourself. And when you get rid of the judgments you have of yourself, your life just gets greater, you know? Your relationships get greater, you can receive more money, you can have more ease in your business. And a lot of the times what we're doing is we're creating from unconsciousness, like we're creating from these unconscious places, we're running our lives on autopilot. We're, like you said, we're not present in our life. We're checked out and we're just like going from A to B to C to D.
Can you run your own bars?
Yeah, you can actually. I mean, it's always better to have someone run your bars for you. Like that's why if you take the bars class, you can go and you can get together. Like what we do is here now, like I'll have a bars exchange at my house every couple of weeks, and anyone who's taken the bars class comes, and we all just partner up and we run each other's bars. So you'll have like a massage table, and you'll gift bars to someone, and then they'll gift bars to you. So it's great to have that, like, gifting and receiving, because that's what it is. It's a gifting and receiving. But like you can also run your own bars. It's not as effective, but it still does work.
Okay. And is it based on any science, or is there, I suppose, research done on it to show?
Yeah, there has been. There's a neuroscientist, Dr. Jay Fannin is his name, and he's got on YouTube. He had all these different ways of measuring, like scientifically what happens to the brain, and so he measured all these different like modalities, and access bars was one of them. And what he found is that when you get your bars run, it slows down, the brain waves slow down. And so when the brain waves slow down, neural pathways can change, and that actually changes behavioral patterns and changes reaction patterns. So what you find is that, like, a lot of times, like what I say is, like, when you have more space and ease, you won't be as reactive. So like if you get your bars run afterwards, a lot of time, like maybe your husband could say something to you, or your mother, and before you may just go to like fight or defend or react, you don't have those reaction patterns anymore. It's amazing. You're just there like, oh wow, before that would really bother me, and now it's not. You know, it's like,
Yeah. No,
and
definitely
so
sounds.
yeah, Dr. Fannin just showed that actually, and we just talked about it as well. There's a documentary called Beyond Words, if you want to look it up on YouTube. Um, and that also gives you more information around the science behind it. But he showed that when you get your brain, or when you get your bars run, it's the 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 brain goes into, I think it's called beta, which is, that's what we look at. I think they look at that when you meditate as well,
Yeah.
where you go into the beta. So it's actually better than a good than in like going. It's better than a night's sleep. You
Mm.
know.
Yeah, I think it's similar studies on the brain waves, the fMRIs. I think when you do meditation and you can start seeing activity kind of doing or changing, I suppose, over time, and similar to the neural pathways
Yeah.
that get created. No, it
And
definitely sounds interesting.
there was another study done as well by Dr. Terry Hope, and she did a study, and it was printed on the Journal of Psychology. Um, she did a study on running bars on people with depression, and so you can also look that up too. I don't memorize the results.
Sure, sure.
I
No,
just
no.
know it works for me. But she was able to show that people with acute and high depression, that after just one session of bars, their depression like was gone down. And they're trying to do more research, and research takes time as well, and a lot of resources. But what I would say is that, like, for me, meditation, and I do still meditate a bit, not as, I'm not like a full, like, every day I have to meditate. But for me, meditation was kind of difficult, because not kind of, very difficult. Let's be real, because I had so much going on in my head, and I also have a lot of energy, and I know now that that's actually a talent and a gift. And so, we have a lot of kids these days who are being labeled ADD, ADHD, all this stuff, and they're being put on medication, right? And I'm not here to talk about medication. I'm just saying that they have a lot of energy, right? That's
Mhm.
what they have.
Yeah.
And rather, like, so if you take a child like that and you try to get them to meditate, it may not work. Like, meditation didn't work with me, because I also have a lot of energy, and I can multitask, and I can do things at the speed of space, and I actually require a lot of things going on at once to keep me, that stimulates me more, right? And that's where I kind of work at my best. So sometimes meditation for me was like, I didn't need, like, it wasn't going to work. I needed to use my talents more. And so a kid with ADHD, um, rather than trying to get them to focus on one thing, if you give them lots of things to do, and allow them to be the capacity that they have with energy and multitasking and all that, rather than trying to get them to slow down. Like, what are we doing? We're trying to tell people to slow down, rather than actually, hey, you have a lot of energy, why don't you use that? Okay, use that and create a couple of things here all at once. And so for me, Access gave me that, like, information that I was missing, because I kept making myself wrong, because I thought I couldn't slow down. But one of my favorite tools from Access was, what's right about you that you're not getting, and that you may just be different. You may not fit in to the standard of what this reality tells you should, like, you may just, function differently, think differently, have a different speed. And so the bars is a way for you to actually get, like, you, like,
So
you're
it's
unique, you're different, like, what's right about you that you're not getting, rather than trying to fit in. How different are you really?
so it's definitely a self-awareness tool from that perspective, and then to your point, once you're aware, you can self-accept more, I suppose.
Yeah, I think allowance, you know what I mean? You can actually start to have allowance for you. And because even with the acceptance, it feels like we're still judging ourselves.
Mm.
Like, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll just accept myself. But it's like, when you have allowance for yourself, it's allowance for all of you, the good, the bad, the ugly. But how many of us are trying so hard to be so good and so right and so perfect and so correct, while denying and trying to, reject all the parts of us we've decided are bad, terrible, awful, and mean, right? Rather than, like, hey, allowance for me, like, allowance. Like sometimes sometimes you're great, sometimes you may not be great. Like, uh,
How, I guess, I don't know if this is something that you were struggling with, or but a lot of people struggle with, is how they compare themselves to others, and
yeah.
comparison is the thief of joy, I think, is one of my favorite statements, because you're comparing and you're just taking away your joy. You're writing that one down there, I see.
I love that
It's not
comparison.
mine. I think, I don't know who,
I
somebody
love
very,
it.
very famous said it, but would it help with that? So you're not only you're accepting yourself or allowing yourself, but not caring as much what other people think then as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, totally. Because like in this world, like we're taught to judge. Like we don't come in as babies, we don't come in judging, but we're taught to judge. We're taught to like, we learn it. It's a behavior we learn, and then like, so with the judgment, like people are going to judge you regardless. So, but we stop ourselves, and I know I did so much because we're so afraid of being judged, right? Rather than just like, so Dane here is one of the founders of Access Consciousness, and he wrote the book Being You, Changing the World, right? And it's all just about being you, and like people are going to judge you regardless. So why not be you? But we, like you said, we spend all this time comparing ourselves to others, and it's like so unkind to us because there's only one of you in the world. Like there's only one Rob O'Donoghue, you know, like, so what you do is unique. And like even if there's like, how many podcasts is there right now, like in the world? Lots of them. But you have
Yeah.
your unique way of doing it, your unique message, your unique way of interviewing. So when you compare yourself to someone else, like it's so unkind to you because you're not actually acknowledging, actually I am unique, I have my own talents and abilities. And when we compare ourselves, then we go into competition, and then we start competing with other people, you know and and so yeah, I don't know if I did even answer your question. Did I just rail off there? But yeah, the
No.
judgment of comparing and judging of others. Yeah, so I think with the thing with the bars is that you're right in a way. You're going back to your original question, like, does it help you stop judging yourself, comparing yourself to others? Answer, yes. Because for me anyway, I can just talk about me. When I started to get my bars run, it was like this energy too, like, okay, I can go and create whatever I want to create. Like, what's the life I want to have, basically, And one of the things was, do I want to live in Ireland? It was like, no, I actually want to live in the sun. Like, I love the sun. I love the beach, So it was like, okay, what can I want to do yoga. I want to dance. I want to create more consciousness in the world. I want to live on the beach. I want to live where it's hot. And so I started to see, okay, these are all the things I want to create. And rather than being like, okay, I can't leave and I can't leave my family and all this judgment, right? And guilt and all the stuff that stops us from choosing. I had this energy in my world from getting my bars run where it's like, okay, Amy, what do you want to have as your life? What do you want to create? Go create, So I wasn't being held back as much by, okay, what's everyone going to think about this, And it does come up from time to time where I'm like, oh, if I post this video, God, will I get a lot of judgment? Will people think I'm what, you know, blah blah blah, whatever their judgment is? Um, but I don't leave it stop me anymore, Like, what
Yeah.
if you never let other people's judgments of you stop you? And if you look at all the like the great people in the world, like change makers in the world, like they're judged a lot, you know
Sure. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And to your point, like, I actually, even and I obviously don't get my bars run, but I think just kind of um, self awareness and self control and management. Like, I typically don't listen to podcasts of people doing something similar, because I don't want to compare myself to them, or I don't want to learn from them either, because then you'll start almost modeling yourself on them. So I think that's just something you can apply to whatever world or environment you're in, to be a bit more unique, to kind of maybe not to not try and compare yourself.